And viewers, now getting straight on into our conversations for this morning. First up, we will be speaking, or we are speaking, I should say, rather, with the director of the Tobago Emergency Management Agency, TEMA, and that is Mr. Allan Stewart, as we seek an update on what's been happening with the oil spill. And as you know, on February 7th, there was a vessel, the Gulf Stream, that got stuck on a reef just outside of Cove, and it has been leaking oil. Well, actually, thankfully, a few weeks ago, we got the reports that the oil stopped leaking, but it's still affecting our shores, and the cleanup efforts are still ongoing. But to give us further insights as to what's been happening and what the new details are, here's Mr. Stewart. So good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Stewart. How are you doing?
Good morning, Kandace, and good morning all of Tobago and to the wider listening public across the world. Go ahead.
So how is the cleanup efforts going?
Well, it continues apace. This is day 50 of the cleanup or response to Operation Gulf Stream. Things have moving along quite well, at least to some extent better than we thought. And when I say that, that needs to be qualified in a particular way in terms of what we saw is a heightened activity of collaborators coming together, from different sources, both internationally, nationally, and also on the ground here in Tobago, where that combination allowed the joint command post to operate significantly well. We were able to scale back down our operations, whereby a number of personnel are no longer there. So we are scaling back significantly. We have seen the emergence of moving towards treating this particular incident now as a project. So a project management team has been put in place by the Tobago House of Assembly, and it is led by Mr. Beckles, and a team of experts from different quarters have emerged to lend really technical and savvy attention to the project as it moved from its emergency phase into the project phase. That has been going quite well. We continue to have regular meetings, to this morning being one of them, where we meet with the stakeholders who are involved, the technical people on the ground. So a technical meeting will be held this morning to review where we are in terms of the scaling down. One of the major injection or coming on the scene viewers is that of sargassum. Now, we have seen the rot of sargassum impacting especially the Atlantic coastline of Tobago over the years, dating back. I think the worst we have seen was in 2011 in the Speyside and certain districts on the Atlantic Ocean. However, we would have established during Operation Gulf Stream, in the very few hours of the operation, we established that we were dealing with an impact zone of over 15 kilometers. That stretch along the Atlantic, starting from Scarborough, going straight down to Cove, that area was divided up into 8 zones. Within those zones, there were high points, meaning when I say high points, hot zones in the sense that there were more hydrocarbon and more interest was needed to be shown, and in particularly the Scarborough port. Then we would have recognized what was happening along the coastline, just from the Isle of Tobago side, go straight down the roads down to the Coast Guard, and further to the west, you saw what was happening in Packino school population and certain businesses in that area. So those things are now behind our back. So in this tier response operation, we were able to bring the necessary resources that were necessary to what is described in the Tobago oil spill plan as to abatement, and also being competitive, responding to it in a particular way. We were able to bring those places back to a sense of normalcy. If you look at the shoreline from just the area that I speak, go right down to Lambo, it is wide surf now, so the intensity of the work impacted positively. Now, I mentioned earlier on that we have a situation where sargassum is playing a role in all of this, positively and also negatively. Positively, it helped when the sargassum got into contact with the hydrocarbon. It was easy for removal.
Yes.
So that went quite well. But what we have happening is that in the Magdalena area, Magdalena have a very complex shoreline. In that area, you have a shoreline that some refer to it as the North Beach and the South Beach. The South Beach, if you're at the Magdalena and looking out at sea, it's on the right-hand side. That is the South Beach. The South Beach is very problematic because it creates a kind of a little mini cove. And sargassum now locks inside of there whenever there is sargassum, and if it's not attended to, then you have, it turns after 3-4 days, start becoming pugnacious. The scent emanating from it it releases gases as the sargassum die, and the bio properties that are in the sargassum trap also start decaying. So you have that decaying taking place, and then the gases from that, the structure itself is downwind, so they are affected in some way. So we are managing that. I know the Chief Secretary, who is the chairperson of the Tobago Sargassum Plan, have focused resources in that particular area to allow for ease of the visitors there. As you know, we are going into the Easter season, so a number of resources is being lent to that location. And we talk about resources, they have moved the manpower towards that area so that we could have some ease going forward. But it's a skillful job. In other words, what they are trying to prevent is that you don't remove too much of the sand from on the beach, and also some of the waste are categorized in two ways. You have what you may call the solid waste, which is the sargassum itself, and also you have what we may call toxic waste, in the sense that, or hydrocarbon waste, where the sargassum come into contact with the hydrocarbon. So in that scenario, we try to remove that sargassum that is now contaminated with the hydrocarbon, and that has been moving quite well. Today we continue in that vein to see how best we could have the place properly clean up.
Now, one thing that I've noticed, especially as you go to you look at what's going on out on the sea, you see that the oil booms are moving almost daily. They're being repositioned and so on. What's been happening? Is it because that you are trying to catch some of the sargassum, or to catch some more of the oil that's out there?
Okay. It's a direct strategy as to what we understand the current behavior along the Atlantic. So anything that is west of the wreckage, we don't really have any fear about it. For example, I just want to make it clear, there are two things I want to make mention before, as I have this platform, is that of the wreckage itself. So we'll continue at the wreckage. So when we talk wreckage, is the ground zero. So anything is west from the wreckage will not come back east. So one of our key objectives in this whole operation was to prevent the beaches on the Caribbean side of being impacted. Yes, there have been releases after we had to come with some good stories, that the oil has stopped and things like that. No, every now and again it continues. So when there's rough seas, as you know, just last week, we had some very rough seas. This is a period that sees the swells sometimes behave. And the Atlantic on that end of the island, as a result of the reef condition, is very agile. You have a very kind of ferocious behavior of the tidal conditions and the wave actions on that side of the island, where the reef cause the surf to behave in a particular sense. So you find that in itself sometimes interfere with the placement of the booms, and therefore all fisher folks, they are the one engage by these operations to ensure on a daily basis that the booms are in place. While we have scaled back their activities to some extent as a result of utilizing a UAV, we brought back a UAV into the operations, and the UAV allowed for, so even as we speak now, that UAV is out there and is streaming back the information back to the operations center, where we could see live footage and direct the operations as to what exactly do you want. Is there a cause for the fishermen to go out at sea today? If not, they stay at bay, and they are called when needed into the operation. So those are some of the quick actions that has been taken.
And very quickly, what's happening with the wreck? Because we're almost out of time. So
yeah. What happened is the wreck. One is that TNT Salvage has been brought in to. They are the one managing the wreck. There is a 500 meters exclusive zone radius around the wreckage. So persons, we want to make this appeal, especially to fisher folks, that there is a 500 exclusive zone around the wreckage. The Marine Division will be placed in what you call a buoy with a beacon on it to the south side. So at nights, fisher or marine interest is to pass to the right of the vessel if going east. So that is the color of the buoy. They know that signal, what it means, whether to pass, whether it's a yellow light or a green light. They will know exactly which side to pass on as a result of the color of that light. The wreckage, the intention going forward is to start extracting the hydrocarbon from the vessel itself, bring it to shore into frac tanks. The area between the is just beyond maybe 200 meters or so, a little around that area, and to move it to shore at the cove. So a sort of a makeshift jetty will be built just in the cove area, just about 30 feet in width, so 30 length by width, and that will allow for the ease of which they will be able to utilize those buoyant hoses to bring it to shore and into tanks. And then that's another stage that they will be going through as utilizing a barge for storage, which today there's some intention to have a discussion with the Port Authority as to how they could accommodate the barge when it come on the scene, things like that. So the operation Gulfstream have shifted its intensity down to the wreckage area, which is ground zero at this time. Yeah.
All right. Well, we are unfortunately out of time, but just in case you have anything that you want to mention quickly before we go.
I think I've said it all. We want to thank those persons who have been playing a significant role and who will be called upon to continue to play that role. All the support that we have been getting from the Tobago public, we really appreciate it indeed. Thanks a lot.
All right. So thank you, Mr. Stewart. And of course, we will be connected with Mr. Stewart again pretty soon to see as we follow what's been happening with this whole situation. And we hope to get it cleaned up in the least amount of time as possible. And then hopefully find the persons that are responsible to hand them the bill. All right, Mr. Stewart. So thank you so much. And viewers, we have a lot more coming up for you after the break. So don't go anywhere.